You are here with By the Cover. Today we're going to be reviewing Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This book was 365 pages and took me 5 days to read. I would rate it a 9.7 out of 10. This review will contain some mild spoilers, so if you don't want to hear those, click off now. I highly recommend this book. I can tell it's going to be one of those books that I'll reread many times and get enjoyment out of it. It isn't one I think that will be spoiled by knowing what happens already. This is a fantasy adventure book. It does have a few disturbing scenes, but nothing too bad. This is my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I can already tell that I'm going to be reading a lot of his books. For the first time ever, this review is going to have a love section and a like section. There's nothing that I dislike about this book. So first, what I loved about this book. The pacing was awesome. The chapters were very short and digestible. The author also names every chapter, so it kind of draws you in because you want to know why the chapter is named what he named it. I personally really enjoy books about sailing and the sea and the ocean. The setting of this book was perfect for me personally. This book is primarily based at sea, but you're in a world where it has a unique twist. The character work in this book is some of the best character work that I have ever seen. Every single protagonist in this book I loved. Even the ones that were annoying or you weren't supposed to like as much, I still loved as characters. Almost every character in this book has character growth. So it's not like he just throws in characters for the sake of throwing in characters. Everyone is thought out and meticulously planned, which I found really refreshing, especially compared to a lot of other authors that don't put as much thought into their characters. Everything that was in this book felt very deliberately placed. Little things that you read earlier in the book come up later in the book. Everything that he writes has a purpose. And I find as a reader, I place my trust in the author a lot more when I know they know what they're doing. At that point, I can just disconnect completely from reality and enjoy the journey. I thought it was a brilliant move turning all of the quote-unquote unimportant characters on the ship into one named character. In being an anonymous character, he actually made that into a character all its own, which was crazy to me. The world building is absolutely brilliant in this book. It's very scenic, it's very beautiful, and it's unique. This was really a journey I never wanted to end. There was never a point I was looking forward to this book being over. In fact, I was almost upset that I was as far along in the book as I was, because I know this is a standalone novel, and there's not going to be a book after this. But I absolutely love the characters and the journey so much that I didn't really care where we ended up. I just liked the journey. And two, I didn't want it to end. The feeling this book gives you is like sitting in front of a fire or enjoying a warm day at the beach. It's just a great time, and I felt really good reading it. Another thing I just absolutely loved is this is beautifully written. There are more quotable lines in this book than any book that I've ever read. I couldn't get enough of the writing. I'm just going to read you some of them. This is by no means a complete list. This is just a few of the many that were in this book. She felt less like a mere human being and more like a human that was merely being. Everything is extraordinary about you, Tress. That is why nothing in particular stands out. A terrible idea executed brilliantly has to be better than a brilliant idea executed terribly. Decisions were reached but never spoken. And you will never find a murderess more intoxicating, more entrancing than the sea. Crow passed up opportunities to inflict physical pain about as often as banks provide free samples. It was commendable execution of a terrible plan, and while we often choose our actions, we rarely get to choose our consequences. Worry has weight, and it's an infinitely renewable resource. Most people never live, Tress, because they are afraid of losing the years they have left, years that will also be spent not living. The topic mattered less than his enthusiasm. You can't taste a memory without tainting it with who you become. If bravery is the wind that makes us soar like kites, then fear is like the string that keeps us from going too far. Memory is often our only connection to who we used to be, Memories are fossils, the bones left by dead versions of ourselves. More potently, our minds are a hungry audience craving only the peaks and valleys of experience. We make memories the gods that judge our current lives. If we let it, memories can make us the shadows of the now. He gave his corpse to the spores and sailed onward. So that's just a few quotes of the many, many, many that are in this book. Just really well written. All the twists in this book made sense. I really liked at the beginning of the story, the author points out that Tress's dad wasn't rich with currency, but he always helped out his neighbors. And because of that, when he needed something, his neighbors helped out him. And I liked that both of Tress's parents trusted her and her decision making. As far as the just okay or what I liked in the story, I thought the antagonists were just a little bit weak or not as developed as the protagonists. There are three main ones. Crow I thought was awesome, the captain of the ship. I didn't have any issues with her. The dragon I thought was not as well developed as it could be, but he was okay. The one that disappointed me the most was the sorceress. I didn't find her all that interesting, and we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with her. But I didn't hate any of these antagonists, I just thought they weren't as good as they could have been. But that's pretty much all I have to say on this one. I just thought this was an extremely good book, one of my favorites, and I can definitely see rereading this in the future. So that's about it. We'll catch you later.